bills of quantities are defined as detailed lists of all the work, goods and materials بكل الأعمال اللي بتصير كل المنتجات and كل الماتيريals that are needed to construct a particular structure. Any structure we want to build كل الأشياء اللي راح تدش بهالشغل هالمشروع are listed in the bills of quantities BOQs. It's a very big thing. We're not doing it for our project. But as architects, you would have to know how to read them. You might actually be in charge of helping prepare them if that becomes your job in the office or you're reviewing the work. Maybe you're working with a contractor and you have to review the bills of quantities. You would have to at least be familiar with those items. The purpose of the bills of quantities or BOQs in that you provide enough information, sufficient information, quantities of the work to be informed, so that you can have bids. Bids are by the contractors. Tender. They can add a bid saying المشروع هذا بيكلف مثلا مليون مليونين based on this list. You will have a list of every detailed item you have and the quantities of it by square meters, by number of pieces. مثلا عندنا 50 شباك أو 50 باب أو مثلا 40 متر مربع of paint and specific specification. But the idea is to provide all this information عشان نقدر نسعر المشروع عدل. But on either side, whether you're adding the bid or you're reviewing the bid, you might be the firm or the client that received the bid from the contractor, so you're checking item by item and you can compare بالسوق شنو الأسعار اللي أعطانا يعني. مثلا نقول concrete قال السعر دينار المتر. When you know in the market it's actually مثلا نص دينار, then you can check why these are more or less priced. BOQs are usually divided into several parts, and then are preliminaries, preambles, measured work, provisional sums, and day works. But they're divided into these different parts. So BOQs, sometimes they're called BQs. They're prepared by quantity surveyors and building estimators. So it's not necessarily the architects that are doing it, but an architect could take on this job with training later, and as part of the field as well, or part of the profession. Same thing with specifications, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this type of document, BOQs, is the main reason quantity surveying, surveying بالعربي as a field, المساحة, okay, المساحة. Which is quantity surveying, to check the quantities, whether on site physically or from the documents, and then you estimate. Came out as a separate profession because of this document, the BOQs. And I'll show you examples. I actually put an example under ceiling, under. I'll put the example and I'll show it to you later in Excel. كل item وبعدين تشوفون هني يمنا مثلا unit rate. And the example from the Kuwait International Airport. Each rate and then how much in total. فمثلا إذا هني 293 meters. كل دينار مثلا متر مكعب يصير 293 kd. And then we add up the cost of the project in total. So usually those are prepared from your working drawings. So you will produce those working drawings as an architect. And you will prepare some specifications, also could be with someone's help. The quantity surveyors or building estimators, they will look at your drawings, they will look at your specifications, and they will prepare this list to be evaluated by the contractor, by the put the bid. Abroad, like in the US, in Europe, there are estimating books. Unfortunately, in the Middle East, we don't really have extensive estimating books, but this is usually done by experience. So estimating books من تروحون أمريكا, and these are updated very often لأن الأسعار تختلف وايد. You can look at مثلا the price of concrete in the last month, كم سعر متر مكعب of certain levels, سعر الحديد, سعر الأشياء, and some also basic estimates for some items of, let's say, a fire-rated door, fire-rated window. So these all enter in the estimating books. بس احنا عندنا مثلا in the Middle East it's more of experience based on the projects that those estimators have. أو يروحون يسألون suppliers. If I want a fire-rated door, I find the companies in Kuwait that produce or supply fire-rated doors, and I get some estimates, and I give an average of what, based on this specification, this price would be. So again, just to clarify, BOQs or bills of quantities, I'm just giving you a kind of overview of what they are, because we're not creating them for our project. These are just for your reference. But specifications, we will create a shortened, very short version of specifications. Specifications actually could be books and books for each project. I'll show you an example. مثلا بس حق tiles is like 15 pages. You're telling them details of what these tiles are, how are they given to the site, how are they delivered, how are they stored, how are they attached to the walls and floors, how are they maintained. ففي وايد تفاصيل بدش specifications, and I'll show you an example as well. So the BOQs give us the quantities of these items. Specifications, or specs for short, they give us the quality or the standard to be met, and in a lot more detail. Maybe I might say fire door in the BOQ here, أكتب مثلا fire door. The specifications بحط كل تفاصيل الفاير door, what exactly the material is, the thickness, some standards that go in there, the design of it. كلها أشياء تدش the specifications. Generally, these are designed or prepared separately from the working drawings because they're extensive and there's a lot of information with wide text. We have a set of working drawings, but then we have a set of specifications. Could be an A4 book or booklet provided.
دكتور هذا Revit they generated ولا؟
لا, Revit helps you generate schedules or quantities. So you might ask Revit, how much concrete do I have, how many windows, أشياء هذه, based on if you get the details right when you're building the project. These actually are more qualitative. They're talking about standards in the market, standards, what the government requires for specific things, standards of مثلا what's the best way to attach a tile to a wall. But these are not in Revit. These are things in the market, and we have this as a reference, which is called Master Format by the Construction Specifications Institute, CSI. So they create this guide that gets updated very often. And this guide has a lot of these information that can get customized by then. So you're not making things up every time. You're using standards and you're customizing it for each project and your needs. And so the master format also gives us the numbering and the titling formats. And those numbers and titles are the same with BOQs. For the BOQs, when you see مثلا هني 03, that's division number 3. بعدين section 30, بعدين 00.04. نفس numbering هذا you'll see in the specifications, but in a lot more detail, and you'll see descriptions added in the BOQ. This is just an Excel with the brief kind of title of what it is, the quantity or area, بعدين the price. Specifications, we'll go into more detail. I'll show you that. Working drawings and specifications are there to complement each other. Okay, so they work together. More than one has precedence over the other. But it's also important to avoid duplicating. فما help مثلا detailed description in my specs, I repeat the same detailed description in my drawings. So I take something that's summarized version of that, and I put it in the working drawings as a reference. بس إذا بعرف وايد تفاصيل, I'm not going to clutter my drawings with that. طبعا it's very important that they're also matching. مو أكتب شيء بالspecs وأكتب شيء contradictory in the working drawings. Something very simple, let's say مثلا بتكلم على travertine, أنا حاط بالspecs إن it's honed like a rough finish, وبعدين بالworking drawings أكتب polished. That could be a legal issue, and they're both legal binding. If I go to court with the contractor, they're going to tell me this is a legal document or this is a legal document. The drawings and the specs are legal documents. But it's important to avoid misunderstanding and legal issues is that they're matching as well. So the master format, that's the guide by CSI, has specifications divided into 49 divisions, and they're under 5 main groups. So we have the first main group is general requirements. So that's the procedural and administrative requirements for a project, how things are managed and run in the project, who's in charge of what, شنو الفريق يتكون من كم واحد بالبيتس. Sometimes الوزارة تقول أبي هلكة المهندسين عندهم هلكة الخبرة overseeing these parts of the project. So that's division 1, general requirements. بعدين divisions 2 through 19. That's facility construction, which is where most of your work is going to happen as architects. That's where you will be involved, which talks about materials, products, and systems, mechanical systems. But these are things related to your job as an architect. بعدين عندنا facility services, خدمات, so that's 2029, site and infrastructure, and then process equipment. So I'll show you some details of that. So that's how it's broken down. So division 1, that's the general requirements. بعدين this is the facility construction subgroup. So division 2 is existing conditions. What are the existing conditions of the site? What do we have to do to fix them? What are we keeping? What are we removing? How are we doing it? That's existing conditions. Division 3, concrete, which is like what you see here. So concrete, beams, columns, floors, anything that has to do with concrete goes into that section. Division 4, masonry, tabog, or bricks. 5, metals, but in wood, and so on. Division 8, مثلا, is openings. Everything has to do with openings. Windows, doors, skylights, anything that's open from the building to the outside. Division 9, finishes. كل هالأشياء تكون are very architectural. بعدين أشياء furnishings, تأثير. 15 to 19 is left as reserved, so each firm might have specific specialties that they want to focus on that goes there. بعدين عندنا these are more HVAC, mechanical stuff, heating, ventilation, that goes between 20 and 29. Site and infrastructure, earthwork. فمثلا if the site is not leveled, we say here مثلا we're going to bring these specific machinery that's going to flatten the site. Or if you have one part of the site higher, you actually say how you're going to make it higher. Utilities, services, transportation, all these things in this these divisions. And then some more other technical things which you wouldn't necessarily be involved in. So different firms prepare specifications in several ways. أول شيء في in-house. It depends how big the project is or how big the firm is أول شيء, and if it's worth having an in-house person that's specialized in specifications. A lot of times they're architects, and that really would be their main job. This firm has one architect مثلا that only works on specifications. They look at the working drawings, they know what the project usually the firm likes to design, and they will pick those specifications, they will prepare them for each project. Another one is an independent specifications consultant. Let's say we're a firm that we don't necessarily do specifications for every project. I can bring a consultant just for specifications. Or this is my project, these are my working drawings, I want you to prepare specifications for this specific project. And sometimes it's also a combined approach. So let's say I have a specifications specialist for many general things. But once in a while I might design a hospital, okay, or a specialized project. But for that, it's not really necessary unless I'm always designing hospitals. ممكن يبقى أحد specialized in hospital specifications. So if we're talking about hospitals as an example, what could be specific to hospitals that would require somebody who's specialized in specifications at hospitals?
Different doors. Different doors.
Doors, okay, why?
Machinery, they're huge.
Okay, so some doors you would have to bring in very big machinery. Some doors what else are we usually moving around the hospital?
Patients.
The patients on the beds, طبعا wheelchairs also as a bare minimum. بس مرات بيطلع the patient from the room to the operating room on a big bed. How is that going to fit? Is there enough turning radius for you have a specialist to check everything is in order and to write specifications for the sizes. Speaking of sizes and machinery, الحين especially with more modern technology, شنو types of equipment being used for, let's say, operating rooms?
HVAC system اللي هي filter يعني غير عن
Okay, so you have specialized mechanical systems, like filtration, and you have to bring the air in, and also it has to be hygiene, so hygienic, not bringing in bacteria from outside, مثلا, things of that sort, filtering it. شنو بعد؟
Where they scrub it.
John?
Where they scrub it, like if they cut it.
طبعا, so you have prep before you go into the surgeries, these will also be there. What else?
Radiation actually.
Okay, so what would require radiation?
Yeah, materials, different materials بتاعت.
Okay, so you have insulation. What about the actual machine? You need to know how big the machine is. الحين بعد a lot of the surgeries are not done just with a scalpel بطلوا نفس قبل صح؟ الحين it's robotic. So أول شيء شنو infrastructure you need for that? Okay, and شنو sizes. So we mentioned sizes to bring the machine in. Some machines are actually too big to bring after the construction project. While it's being constructed, they might make a big hole مثلا in the wall. يبون الماكينة, and then they would seal it for two reasons. أول شيء size to bring it in, and then other things, sometimes these machines مثلا are very sensitive to dust. Imagine during the working environment, it cannot be exposed to kill dust and dirt, and they would put it in a place, seal it while the project's still being built. Once the project's done, then they can make an opening and bring the machine out or open the room to that machine. But these are very specialized things that not everybody is aware of. You need a specialized consultant for those things that would be written in your specifications. So that's within the combined approach. Let's say I'm a firm that works with, once in a while I do a hospital, once in a while I do a school, so I can bring someone specialized for those. It's important that they're concise and easy to understand. You get straight to the point, you're not just writing an essay and they need to be easy to understand, and it's not just specialized people in the field that will be reading it. You have the client reading it, you have a supplier reading it, an architect, a contractor, and they should be easy to understand for multiple fields. And like I said, they're following the CSI's manual of practice, so that the numbering, the titles, الأشياء ما قاعد نألف أشياء, especially if they're standardized, they're using that and applying it in their specifications. So generally the process to figure out how to prepare a specification, أول شيء you're supposed to be researching the material and the products. So the first thing is you need to establish a need, a problem. What exactly is expected, or what is the problem, what is the need? And what do you need this material? Let's say if it's a flooring, what is expected from this material? If you are using it مثلا in a bathroom, there's water. شنو مثلا is expected out of it? It needs to be مثلا non-slippery, صح? Especially if it's in the shower. But this is the essential role مثلا is a specific function. So we have different criteria, evaluation criteria, to evaluate a material and specify the items or descriptions based on these criteria. Some things may not be necessary. And when we're talking about aesthetics, مثلا, يمكن ما تفرق معي شكل الماكينة. I might be specifying an AC machine. It might not matter aesthetically, and it's on the roof or it's closed up. But maybe part of it is aesthetics. How is the grill going to show when I come to bring the air into the space? Something مثلا fire safety is not really a big deal. Some things are. على حسب each material and what is needed. So I'll show you examples. So this is like a product evaluation summary sheet, and these are the criteria here. So structural serviceability. Are we talking about, does it need to withstand natural forces? Are there hurricanes? Are there strong winds? how strong is it? Fire safety. So typically fire resistance, if we talk about مثلا, doors, especially when we talk about large spaces, educational facilities, hospitals, public areas, doors are evaluated by how many hours they can withstand a fire. So is it half an hour, 2 hours, more, على حسب how long they need to withstand a fire. Sure, what's
maybe unplugging and touch هذا الغدة.
أي واحد؟
ولا شرط. It's blue.
The thing with the two antennas?
Not sure. It's like picture.
So fire safety, habitability.
Are you okay with it?
Hmm?
Are you okay with it? ولا check?
I think the others. You might see something flashing. Yeah, now this is an image, so it's going to keep still. So habitability has to do with method and thermal. Is it something that's going to be cold, hot? When you use a material, let's say flooring, if you want something that's warmer, you're using carpet as opposed to marble, something colder, hotter. And then acoustic properties, if you have مثلا a lecture hall or a classroom, is it reflecting too much sound or not? So that's habitability. But in durability, how is it going to resist wear? And if I use this material, is it going to last 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What do I need it to do? Practicability. So in terms of transport, storage on site, handling it, installation, compatibility. If I use it with another material, is it reacting negatively with it, or they're going together? Maybe one material expands too fast compared to another one. If I have مثلا, stone and wood, is one going to expand more than the other and then damage the other material? Maintainability. What do I need to maintain this product? Is it high maintenance, low maintenance? Environmental impact. How is it going to affect the environment when I pick between different materials? Maybe one is a lot more environmentally friendly than another. Then cost and aesthetics. So specifications, we write specifications in 4 basic types. أول شيء فيه descriptive, so that's the basic written description of each material. And this has the essential attributes to meet the project requirements. But that's mainly descriptive, قاعد أقول sizes, قاعد أقول شنو required, what's needed, أشياء. Proprietary, that's the second type. So this lists only the products and the manufacturers that are acceptable for use on a project. So I'm specifying, مثلا, I'm only using products that are made from, let's say if I'm saying elevators, أقدر أحدد بقول أبي بس من Otis أو Mitsubishi أو مثلا Schindler. Those 3 manufacturers. That's proprietary. I can put that in my specifications. أقول إن أنا أبي one of these 3 companies. Public projects, that becomes a legal issue, especially إذا بقول مثلا أبي بس elevators from Otis. هذا يعتبر احتكار, and I'm singling out one versus another. فقاعد أنفع one company as opposed to another. So you can't do that, especially in public projects. But let's say it's a private client. They might say, I only want an Otis elevator built. So you put it in the specification. This is a requirement. This elevator has to be from Otis. Even better, you actually specify the actual product or the product model number. فأنا أعرف إن this model of elevator ينباع this company. I want this one. Or pick this model, or this model. One of these 3, so you can choose multiple products. In your assignment, you will. I'm providing catalogs. فمثلا I'll provide catalogs مع الصناعات حق طابوق الجيري. So you will go inside in the catalog and say في أنواع مختلفة من الجيري. في جيري مصنوع من سمنت أو sorry طابوق. جيري means limestone. ففي طابوق cement based, so it's cement based brick. في limestone اللي هو الجيري, that's the name, lime. From these there are different products. I would say different sizes, different textures, different thicknesses, and different colors. So from the catalog you'll say every طابوق الجيري مثلا اللون الفلاني, size الفلاني, and that's what I'm going to put in my specification. That's the size and color. So that's a proprietary specification. في بعدين performance specifications. So you identify the performance or the characteristics of that product or item that you want to use. And you can also show the method of verifying it. How are you testing that method? You might say this is what I want, but you have to say how it's going to be tested. Lastly, there's a reference standard specification. في general industry standards already set for certain things. مو كل مرة مثلا بقول cement, Portland cement, بحط كل تفاصيل السمنت. خلاص معروف worldwide. You know, when I say Portland cement, I'm usually talking about ASTM C150, and that's the model, that's the reference that I will use. وفي وايد تفاصيل إتي مع this reference. So I don't need to say repeat كل الأشياء that come with ASTM. خلاص في reference that I can go to and know what ASTM C150 is. You just write I want cement ASTM C150 بس, and the contractor would know what that means, supplier knows what that means, and no need for repetition. Sometimes these are by the authorities. مثلا حكومة الكويت تقول you have to waterproof and use this standard minimum for your house. Glazing مثلا, you can't just put any glazing, it has to be مثلا a certain standard. في standards set by the authorities, custom, خلاص هذه العادة معروف إنه this is how we build specific things, or general consensus, how people are accepting certain criteria. So for your specifications assignment, it has a few parts, فركزوا معي شوي لأن so you don't get confused. احنا الحين we have basically the most basic thing that you need to do is create 8 specifications. Okay, so 8 specifications, 2 for flooring, 2 for ceilings, 2 for exterior finishes, 2 for interior wall finishes. So that's the most basic thing you need to do with assignment, but there's more to it. I would say we have more materials in these categories than the ones I'm requiring you to write detailed specifications for. They're not that detailed, just 2-3 lines, but anyway, so ceilings. In our project already, in the legend, how many types of ceilings do we have? 3 actual ceilings, or 4th is just an unfinished ceiling. فعندنا مثلا بالصالات, that's one type of ceiling. صالات الغرب, صح؟ شنو بعد قلنا في different type of ceiling؟ بالwet areas, صح؟ So kitchens, bathrooms, شو الفرق؟ ما اسمع. The lower, that's a design issue, but what's the characteristic? Water, hygiene, so that you can clean it, and it's supposed to be water resistant. صح? That's another type. تكلمت على a third type. Elevator is one, but that's really just an unfinished ceiling, which is exposed. Stairwell, which is like this, صح? That's the painted fair-faced surface. So you would have to put the codes for those 3 or 4 materials, but you're only putting specifications for 2 of them in the assignment. You see the difference? So for مثلا, let's say you pick the living room ceiling and the wet area ceiling. For the staircase, you just have to add a code for it. مثلا C01 or C03 for the 3rd one, but you're putting the description only for those 2. Same thing with flooring. You can have multiple types of flooring. You add the codes for all of them, but you're only adding descriptions for 2 of them. So the codes usually are 2 to 3 letters and then a number, like we've been doing BR01, ST01. So you've already done quite a bit of that. You just need to expand the description. In the specifications assignment, what we will include is those items. So the material dimensions, the color, the material name and type. طبعا this doesn't apply to everything, then some things could be tiles or ceramic, other things could be مثلا painted walls. Painted wall ما في size. It's whatever the area is, but we have different specifications to go on that. The manufacturer code. So like I said, I'm gonna already put some catalogs and I'm gonna add some more for your reference, and you can find different catalogs as well for those materials. The physical property, the material finish, edge type, and installation type. So let's break it down شوية into more detail. So we're talking about material dimensions. عندي مثلا إذا قاعد أتكلم على الخام عندي length صح width length مثلا 400 800 نفس الإكزامبل اللي أعطيتكم إياه والسماكة which is مثلا 200. Material color, so an example حطيتلكم beige, the many different colors. So again, I put examples already and I will add some more, especially with marble and tiles. For your reference, you can find different types of marble, different colors, and you will say this is the type of marble that I want to use. So the color, بعدين material name and type, so the travertine is one, Carrara is another, many different types of marbles. So again, I want you to customize that. لا حد يخلي بس travertine. I'm going to give you a long list of examples to use. Choose a different one. Material manufacturer code. So again, خلينا نروح مثلا about paint. راح أحط لكم catalog من مثلا Juten من KPC. You go to Juten, you say I want this specific type of paint, which let's say has a manufacturer code JT102 مثلا. So you put it in the specification. قاعد تقول أنا قاعد أستخدم هذا الصبغ, and there's like a list of different colors, and you'll say I want to use color 15821, which is lime green. So here it has a name and a number. So you'll add that code from that catalog. That goes in there. Then you can add مثلا physical properties if it's slip resistance, non-slip, إذا مثلا tiles حق الحمامات. The material finish, so is it polished, honed. الأشياء الثانية هذه مثلا for carpets, loop pile, things of that sort. Material edge type, bevel and different types. Let's say عندي أنا counter حق الرخام. How is the edge of that going to be, or the staircase مثلا? Do I want it to be curved, like a radius type of, and you can specify the radius.
chamfer?
Yeah. So is it chamfer? Chamfer is مشطوفة. Okay. The most basic one, الكويت يسمونه كسر حرف, which is like 2 maybe millimeters, where they just remove the sharp edge, and usually marble and granite, when they cut it, it's very sharp. It's actually dangerous. But the most basic thing they do is يسمونه كسر حرف. يكسرون حرف الرخام. They just pass a cutting machine on the tip, and you can specify if it's, and the most basic one is around 2 millimeters. كسرة هذه. It could be more, 45-degree angle هذه. It could be rounded. And if it's rounded, you can specify the radius. That's done in the factory, and it comes as a standard. Sometimes it's done on site, but it's not consistent. مرات اللي قاعد يسوي يمكن they will make it deeper on one side, less on the other. So the best, neatest thing is to be done in the factory. How is it installed? تكلمنا على مثلا semi-mechanical installation. Specifically for stone, I am planning on having a guest talk to us about stone, different applications, different types, in the next few weeks, towards the end of the month, inshallah. So that will give you a little bit more information, but after the assignment, that you can reincorporate into the assignment. So these are some examples for carpet, for stone, for ceramic tiles, for your reference. Speaking of travertine, do you know the general characteristics of travertine? What does it look like? What's peculiar about travertine? Before I said. Anyone knows I'm obsessed with travertine? See those holes? Okay, that's part of the material, how it was formed. There are these like small bubbles. When you cut, it's like holes. So these can be, you know, what's the difference between that first picture and this one? What happened to the holes?
مسكرين.
Right? So they get filled. فهيسمونها في معالج أو مو معالج, filled or unfilled. So it depends on what you're looking for. You might want it unfilled, just rough finish. Depends if it's a cladding. مرات ممكن يجمع بار وسخ. You don't want that if that's what you're going for. So it would get filled. They get filled by a material called resin. It's like an epoxy-based material. You can choose مثلا the color of the travertine, بعدين the fill if you want it to be light or dark. Those are different things that goes in the specifications, which type. وبعدين there's also, when we're talking about stone, there is vein cut and there is cross cut. Okay? Stone, the way it's set up مثلا, it could be going with the veins, or you cut it across the veins, and that gives you a very different look to the stone. So you'd have to specify what type of, so that's مثلا vein cut, you see the veins. And if you see the other side, these dots, that's the cross cut. So that goes in the specifications. If it's vein cut, cross cut, and so on. So the grading rubric for the specifications, the material codes, so ST01, BR01, الأشياء هذه 2 points per material, times 8 materials. Then you have the actual specifications, the description, the 2-3 lines you will write, that's 8 points. بعدين, so that, like I was saying, it's not just doing that sheet, the specifications, which by the way you could do it outside. In Revit's not that great to do a table and text and align things, but you can do it on Excel, on Word, export as a PDF, and then import that PDF onto your sheet directly. ما في داعي نسوي, and it gets a bit complicated. Unless you're comfortable and you just want to do it straight in the sheet, that's fine as well. So once you do the specifications, some things may have changed, the codes. When you prepared the codes, you may rename some things. مثلا PP for painted plaster, TR for terrazzo, maybe something that you want to fix or change. So once you update those in your specifications list, these need to be updated back in your drawings. So that's what the point number 3 is, update codes on all the drawings. So also maybe you update it in the plans, but didn't update it in the elevations. Make sure it's consistent across all your drawings, that your specifications sheet is updated everywhere else. Lastly, manufacturer/supplier documentation. So again, these catalogs, most of them actually will be provided as a reference. You will add it as an attachment. You don't have to print it, just as a second PDF in your submission. So you will show me مثلا a screenshot, or you'll take out 1 page من صناعات, showing me which brick you're using and the code for that specific brick that you referenced in your drawing. So that's what you're doing. You don't have to put the whole catalog, please don't. Put specifically just where you took the information from and use that as an attachment in your submission. Okay? So for these suppliers, you will have minimum 3 products per type, but you're giving specifications only for 2 of them. Because I want you to show me in the catalog minimum 3 products. Okay? That's it for specifications. Any questions about specifications before I want to talk to you about the midterm rubric, the grading, and then we can go over some math.
دكتور هذا مترجم
What?
مو بالترم يعني مو حق
لا, midterm is without specs. يوم 20. I pushed it. I didn't give you the memo. No update. So it was pushed from the 13th to the 20th. it was supposed to be November 13th, according to the syllabus. I pushed it to the 20th, a week later. Okay? Any questions about specifications assignment? Okay, so midterm, these items from 1 to 7 apply to the whole set. So when we talk about sheet titles, numbers, drawing names, that applies to the whole set. Are you getting the numbers right throughout all of them? The sheet titles through the whole set? Line weights, that's a general evaluation across your entire drawing. So maybe some have really good line weights, others don't. So you're getting average across all of your submissions for the midterm itself. Line types, are you using the right dashed, hidden lines, things of that sort? Legends, again, across all of them. Tags in all of your drawings that are required. Then consistency across all the drawings. So if you revise something in your elevations, is it matching in your plans? Is it matching in your sections? So that's consistency across. Number 7, actually, I'm changing from presentation, layout, and composition to extra credit. So that will be the flooring layout, flooring design layout. Okay, so it's a very simple drawing. I'll show you an example. You turn off almost everything. وتخلون بس تقسيمة الأرضيات. And you specify this is travertine, this is terrazzo, this is ceramic. So it's a floor plan just for flooring materials. Okay, which is optional, and that's extra credit, 5 points. Then 10 points per submission that you did weekly for requirements and completeness. Okay, so that's going to evaluate your site plan growth, your floor plan skill set of floor plans, skill set of elevations, your sections. The ceiling plans will get 10 points each, based on how well they were done and complete they are. Lastly, Revit. So again, is it organized? Your sheets, the names of the sheets, things around the plans and elevations. Do you have many things just randomly flying around your model? So to be a clean, organized file. And then lastly, PDF, proper margins. Make sure to avoid colors. Then if you print it in grayscale, I'm not really necessarily going to know that unless I see your PDF, and if it shows a color, فالأحمر بيطلع رمادي. ما نبي هالشيء قلنا it's all in grayscale, and we're printing gray as well. The order, make sure that the order is set properly. ما تصير مثلا go by the numerical sequence. A100 الأول بعدين 200. Sometimes Revit will not necessarily do that unless you specify that order. Your title sheet, Mati بالآخر, things of that sort. Any questions about the midterm grading rubric? So again, you will submit all the work, including this week's ceiling plans, but without the specs. So the specifications that we just went over, we won't go over it. So that will be on hard copies in my office by the end of class time. So by the end of class, like this time, at 5:45, I'll be in my office to pick up to receive your hard copies. Make sure there's a title sheet and contents sheet. I'll show you an example. You bind it on the left side. Okay. Any questions about sections? Any questions about the work you did in your sections that you want to go over?
الوال section يضل
Sean?
الوال section يضل
Speed wall section. Call out, that's their top and lower. Was everyone able to do the top and lower option? No details added. This. So what you'll be what you will be evaluated for in the wall sections is the placement on the sheet, that it's covering the actual top of the parapet to below the beam, وبعدين from above the beam to the footing. I'll show you the example. The placement that is placed well, and the title and the أشياء الثانية that are basic in the sheet that are repeated. There's nothing within the details of the wall section needs to be done. Okay. طبعا scale to be actually the correct scale. Make sure to write also draft up here with wall section. This is in the sheet itself. The title, upper, lower, scale 1 to 25. So again, don't forget to make it and add the match line. That's the wall section, so that's what's needed to draft. When you create your call out, then the column you duplicate view. Which option? As a dependent. Okay? If you don't do dependent, if you draw something here, it's not going to show there. It will not show in the other drawing. Okay?
Is this only for sections ولا كده رسمات المفروض we do dependent؟
Hag?
كده رسمات المفروض we do dependent ولا just the section؟
كل الcallouts يعني?
Or like just all the sections مثلا؟
No, it depends on what you want out of it. Usually dependent, it's because you're just looking at it from different parts. So you don't want additional details that are showing here but not showing here. So when we do callouts, by default, we're adding details that are not showing in the 1 to 50, but we're showing them in 1 to 25. But that would not be a dependent view. Otherwise, we'll have details wide in one of them, I'll say too busy in the other one. So I'm usually doing it when let's say if I have a very big building and I want to look at 2 wings on different sheets. That's when I want to see the same information, but maybe I can shift something in the text or I'm just looking at it on different sheets. So make sure to add your match line. Look at the extents of this one. Let me look at it on the sheet. From the top of the parapet, and also you're removing the back. If you're seeing the back lines in me, that means there's an issue. So does anyone know how to fix that? Did we talk about it? The clipping depth. Can you all look up your wall sections ولا ما سويتهم؟ You see the difference here? If you see this in your wall section, there's a problem. Okay? We need to remove the clip offset. Okay? So we fix that by changing the clip offset to 100 مثلا, something close. That means I'm clipping the cut. ما قاعد أشوف آخر الرسمة. I'm cutting it very close here because I'm focusing only on the wall. I don't need to know what's happening in the back wall. I don't need to see the furniture behind. I don't need to see that there's a TV neat. So I say 100, but I don't see what's behind it. Okay. Make sure also these are set up this way where you can see the levels on the side neatly. Some of you are starting to forget your scales. Okay, so make sure your scale bars are there for this week's submissions, and for the midterm for all of them. Did anyone have an issue when they put their section and added this detail? Did you notice what happened with your scale? Shigun? As indicated, not 1 to 50. ليش؟ لأن now you have multiple sheets of multiple scales. So how do you fix it? You edit the title block, this one. You edit the title block, you delete the label for the scale, and then you just manually do it like millimeters. And what's a fast way to put this to all your drawings? and I edited وحطيت 150 here in my 301. بروح sheet وسوي paste.
لا copy modify paste it.
Copy, Control C. Aligned to selected views, and I select all the sheets مثلا كلهم that have 1 to 50, and I paste it, and it's going to go exactly. So make sure you get it right the first time, and you just paste it everywhere else. Something that's small but it's annoying is millimeters. When you break it down, لا تحطون مثلا ملي وبعدين تكملتها تحت. Okay, so generally we break a word in a kind of logical way. So milli dash meters. Okay. So check your spellings for that and where you break it up. Some are still not fixing student name. So check student name and check the dates. And last time we talked about where we adding concrete, صح? So we're adding it here, which is a region. We're not really building it. You're welcome to build it, but I didn't. Where else are we adding this concrete detail? Fogway. تحت البارapet مال الروف. Going back.
Windows, doors.
Above your windows and doors if you're cutting through a door. With windows, we also have this detail, which is stone. And don't forget to label your windows. Did anyone notice something weird with core material here? What do you see here? Anything off about this core? هذا الطابق شنو أبيض ولا أسود؟ وهذا what's happening here? الطوفة مالتي صح؟ أبيض أسود. الطوفة مالتي comes up to this level. صح؟ That's why you see the core up here. بس عندي الحين صبة هني. So in reality, I'm not really going to put a row of white bricks here. So what's the easiest way to fix it?
Mask. Region.
Region. Okay, just put a region on top, and if you decide to change the height and drag it to here, you really want to deal with what's going to happen with that? And if you want elevations, it's going to be a disaster. Your plans are probably going to get messed up. So you have to join, unjoin elements. So just a region, and you're done with that part. Don't forget waterproofing membrane here. This line to show that it's an exhaust as opposed to supply. Don't forget your tags. So this is supply, there's an X. Something that's missing in here is your levels at the beginning and end of the staircase. So you need to add the level spot elevation in here. Some are still doing this. You see what I'm doing here? I'm placing the spot elevation. You see this part popping out? Some of you are still doing that, where you're not taking it enough to clear that cantilever part. So when you place it, make sure you place it away and طبعا fix the overlap. فحقنا بنحط spot elevation and change of levels. فعندنا الدري أولا بعدين باللاندنج وبعدين باللاندنج فوق. So we're gonna add one at 300 and add one بعد ما نسوي dash هني. Where we're landing here is level مال 4,200. So one that's probably going to be somewhere here. And you have the dashed lines to take you up. Okay. Any questions about sections? Okay, ceilings. Any of you start on ceilings yet? I added a few examples on Teams. Does anybody not have your ceiling plans showing up here on the left? For you or not? Okay. So if I'm looking at this ceiling, then what are the first few steps I need to do?
نشيل الأشياء. أول شيء نسوي كورس بعدين نشيل الأشياء.
Let's change the scale أول, and that's why these bubbles are huge, صح? And make it fine. You can right click, hide in view,
Category.
remove all the hide in view. Okay, lights, I recommend you draw them in. So you do one, you can create a group. So when you create,
We decided.
Done?
We decide على كيف نعمل.
well, I gave you examples of what they're supposed to look like.
إيه بس نعمل the placement.
Yes, and the placement should also make sense من ناحية الفurniture من ناحية, so you need to have the furniture there مثلا as a guide, so you know where your dining table is, where the living room is, why are you placing something on top of that.
دكتور في example على السيلينج.
Okay. حطيت James. I put a few examples. So lights, we also want to show the مثلا هني, we know that we have the setback where we have hidden lights. So look at how you're going to show the hidden lights, the cove lighting هني, spotlights, lights in the ceilings. مالوت this type of ceiling غير اللايتس اللي مالوت الدرج. صح؟ شو الفرق بينهم؟
اللي بالدرع يبين
اللي بالدرج
يبين
it's not recessed, صح? It's attached on the concrete. We're not breaking the concrete to put the light in. The ones in the ceilings are recessed or semi-recessed, and they're shown differently. So you look at the examples of the legends that I gave you, they're shown differently. And you have different references for them. Make sure to hide your doors. We need to show the windows. Not the swing, so you're hiding the swings of the doors and windows, but you're showing where the windows are. Okay? You can probably edit your cut plane for these to show. So if you edit your cut plane, you can show where your windows, and then you can hide your swings. Okay? And then we want to see the windows and where the doors are, but we don't want to see the swings. Another method is to make it very light. That's preferably to remove the swings. Then ما نبي ما يتعارض مع where the light is and where the ceiling with the AC and the exhaust fan is. I want to show you examples. Any other questions about that? So the examples I'm going to show you now are the BOQs and specs that are already on the server under sample examples of working drawings. Which I think I already put, I'm not sure. So these are examples of different divisions. This is the Kuwait International Airport project by Gulf Consult. هني عندنا division 9, which is finishes. Okay, so you'll see here the sections, they will start with 9, 09, but then the subsection 24. So here this part is about Portland cement plaster, the adhesive. مثلا هني it says 20 millimeters thick plaster. هذا اللاصق اللي راح نلزق عليه tiles on the walls or the floors. So this says 30,000 square meters of that plaster. And then we will say مثلا how much is going to cost per square meter and how much the total cost will be. So that's how it's divided. It's usually on an Excel.
But how do we know though?
How do we know what?
Like the information.
رايحين تشوفين كاتب
Are you talking about this? Well, this.
هذا ايه quantity
So that's the job of the quantity surveyor. So they will look at your working drawings and they will look at your specifications. So from the specifications, they will know that it should be 20 millimeters thick. Okay? Then they will look at your working drawings that have the Revit and they can look at all the areas that require tile adhesive. And they will add them all up and they will say total 30,000 مثلا. بعدين الكونتراكتور راح يقول مثلا راح يكلف دينار المتر راح يكلف 30,000 and it's like formula and then they all add them. This is مثلا plaster but for stairs. Guys, can you please stop? So this is for stairs. It's a different type of adhesive مثلا for that, and it's 20 millimeter thick, but it's specifically for stairs. So maybe this is more expensive, so 2 kd, and I'll tell you the cost. But then this is external plaster on the parapet. It might use also something even different. Here when we talk about مثلا gypsum or plasterboard lining, installation of plasterboard ceiling. That gypsum ceiling, that's you're going to put in your project, for example. Again, quantity, how much it costs. So by the total, will tell you what the total. And then I need tiles, ceramic type. BR01. This is FL702. Tells you and then 1000 meter, كم يكلف المتر, and then the total. This is for the floor. This is for the wall. So that's division 9, which is finishes. Division 8 is openings. تكلمنا عن مثلا different doors and windows. Here you see all these different door types, curtain wall, glass louvers. So again, this BOQ is going to be a big document as well. Remember when we talked about مثلا fire rating? So here you'll see door type, tag, I'll tell you this door only needs half an hour fire rating. معناتها if there's a fire, it doesn't need to hold the fire more than half an hour, but then it will break. Some doors, depending on how many people are inside and what's required, until the fire truck arrives, مثلا, that's usually how you calculate it, and how long you need people to be safe there, 1 hour, 2 hours, and so on. And some basic, and again, these will be in detailed descriptions in the specifications. And here you're just, and I'll show you an example. This is about masonry. Solid block, CMU. So it tells us in square meters, and then you have 12,000 meter of CMU راح ينبني. So that's مثلا 10 مترين, and that's total area for the project. So the contractor can then calculate how much it will cost per square meter for that. You have 90, you have 140, 200 different standards used. So that's an example of a BOQ. I want to show you tiling and terrazzo. So tiling, ceramic, 15 صفحة 15 صفحة specifying tiles in the project. So you have ceramic porcelain tiles. It talks about the waterproof membrane that's related to those tiles, crack isolation, tile backing panels, metal edge strips. It also tells you the sections related to that. Especially على السطح. What happens when you get a lot of heat مثلا on the surface? تصير حارة, and then physics, what happens? Do you remember? Expands and contracts. صح؟ صار الشتاء, it gets cooler, it contracts. That's why you see these lines. These are expansion joints. Sometimes they're left like that, and if we need to be waterproof, then this water is going to just go inside. But usually they're filled up. But that tells you how big, مثلا, kilometer metrain, you have to put an expansion joint, what to fill it with. So it's telling you also what else it's related to. And then that's in another section, not just under tiling. These are the standards. Cement, Portland cement. You have other standards used in this section. Some definitions. So, then we talk about slip resistance. Not enough to say I want a tile that's non-slip. Fee standards that says when it's dry, it's not less than 40 ppb. مثلا. That's a pendulum test value. So you can test it in a lab. You can take a sample and test it. And that's what I said, you have to check what's the testing method to check the specification that you put. Loads. How many times you've been to مثلا a place where cars park, the tiles كلهم مكسرين? Why? ليش? Yes, then it wasn't designed مثلا to carry a car. So you have to specify that in the specification saying أبي يشيل مثلا 5 طن. يمكن يشيل سيارة بس ما يشيل half lorry. فأتي سيارة truck pulls over and it breaks all the tiles. So you'll notice that in بالجمعيات and a lot of projects.
لا علاقة اللايف لود هذا مثلا parkings when the cars drive and you feel the earth shaking.
That has to do with the design of the. If it's multi-story, yeah, depends on the design. The shaking is normal; it's expected. Bridges. Have you ever been stuck on a bridge where the other side is moving and you're stuck?
Yeah.
Especially in Ghazali. Could tell you what's being applied on the tiles, whether it's carpet or something else. Samples, you can mention providing samples. Extra material stock. So you can say, hey, المشروع يحتاج 100 متر مربع. بس أبي 2 extra% for after the project. انكسر شيء ما يحتاج يروح. Sometimes it's not going to be available anymore, or you have to go find it again. So you just add and you specify here how much extra do you want for the after the project, after maintenance period. Quality assurance, mock-ups. You want a mock-up. غرفة مثلا يسوونها, you check it, make sure quality is good, test it. بعدين delivery, storage, and handling. So you can specify how it's being delivered and stored. Sometimes you'll see requirements with a certain reference. Again, they don't need to repeat all these references. They just write the name, and it's known in the market, in the industry, what that is. Okay, Terrazzo, 5 pages, not as much. So again, you can go over it. See here, this is what I mentioned. You can mention, I want these manufacturers either from the Imarat, Terrazzo Limited, or شركة صناعات كويتية, or from this company, and the sizes. So you can go over that, and just an example of what's a detailed specification. Maintenance, how to maintain it, and so on. Any questions? So on Wednesday, submission of all the sections, ceiling plans, and we will jump into the specifications in class next time. All right? We'll see you on Wednesday. Yeah, I got you. I got you. كده السؤال المفروض absent.